But God says, that's no big deal. That's not going to be a hard thing. And so remember that as we go into this message, we're going to talk about how God changes some people's lives this night. In just a matter of a few moments, lives were completely changed. That if you would have told them this was going to happen, they would have called you a liar. Yeah. And I want you to understand that your walls may look that imposing, and if somebody would have told you a few minutes before it happened that it was going to happen, right, you would have said there's no way of that happening. But God intervened. When God steps in, change comes. It's inevitable. So picture with me these gigantic walls that are enormous in size, chariots running around the top, soldiers, armed guards that have been soldiering their entire life. Centuries have passed while these Canaanites had perfected war with one another. They were warriors from their birth, and now they're going to be attacked by a group of people who have been wandering in the desert for 40 years. This is the first test of a new generation that had never held a weapon. All they'd done was eat manna in the morning and quail in the afternoon. They'd never been to war. But these people were wandering around a mountain. And now God is going to ask them to capture the stronghold of the promised land. How does that figure? How does that make sense? And yet, if you look at your life, you'll find the same things go on day after day. God is calling on you to capture some strong points and strongholds, and you throw up your hands and say, well, I just don't think I can do it. And yet God would not ask you to do something that He knows you can't do. Do you remember when Peter had been fishing all night? And he was washing his nets, and Jesus walked by and saw him washing the nets, and he says, hey, how you doing? Got anything? No, I've been working all night, haven't got anything. Well, let's try again. Let's launch out in the deep. I got a place for you. Just try the other side of the boat. Now, Peter's a professional fisherman, been fishing all night, now he's washing the nets. He doesn't need advice. What he needs is rest. I mean, you've been working all night. You're not looking for advice. You're looking for a bed. Jesus walks up, a teacher, and now he's going to be a fisherman. Try right over there. Who but Jesus would ask you to try again where you once failed?
Come on. That's right. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's good, Mark.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good word.
He's the only one that I know who will ask us to try where we failed.
That's right.
We think failure is an excuse to not try again.
That's so true. Man.
But it's not. Failure is all a matter of perspective.
Wow.
There was a company that decided to invent a cleaning formula. And they went through the motions, they tried it didn't work. So they tried it again, it didn't work. They tried it again, it didn't work. In fact, they tried 408 times, and it didn't work. And finally, on the 409th time, it worked.
Yeah.
That's why we call it 409. And not 408. I mean, can you imagine going to the store and pick up some 21 for me? I need to clean this mess. I'm going to get some 21. Ever heard of 21? But everybody knows about 409.
That's right.
Listen, Jesus will ask you to try again where you have once failed. If you just keep your faith up, remember those walls are only tall to you.
That's right. Come on.
They're not tall to God.
That's good.
Amen. That's right.
So here's this group of people. They're entering into the promised land, the land flowing with silk and money. I mean, milk and honey. And God's asking them to go in and conquer a land, and okay, here's the promise. You're going to get wells you didn't dig, houses you didn't build, gardens you didn't plant.
Right.
What's a great word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me tell you what he didn't tell.
Yeah.
There's still people living in them houses, drinking from them wells, eating from those gardens.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there is a reason he don't tell you the rest of the story.
Yes, that's true.
Because you might not go if you knew what you're going to have to do.
That's right.
There's a point. There is a reason that he don't tell you some of this stuff. So before you can pick, you got to evict. But we want to just go pick. Y'all get anything out of this? Look, it's not. Look, there ain't no free ride, baby. Just forget it. It's not going to be a free ride. You're going to have to pay for it when you pay.
Come on.
I don't understand these people that just want that they just want the warm fuzzies all the time. Well, look, there's life that goes in between the warm fuzzies. In the morning when you get up, the kids are going to be crying, the coffee's going to be run over, the eggs might burn, the oatmeal will stick.
Yeah.
I mean, all these things that happen in life, if you didn't change it, you know, I mean, it's going to happen. But the point in trusting Him is that He's got the key for your success.
That's right. Come on.
You just got to keep putting it in the line.
That's right.
Somebody said, well, it just shouldn't be that hard. Well, try telling Jesus that.
There you go.
It was pretty hard. I mean, he had some difficult days. So if you want to reap where you've not sown and drink where you haven't dug and live where you haven't built, you may have to run some people out.
Come on.
So it's come down to this. 40 years has gone by, and this group of people have been wandering in a desert around a mountain for 38 of those years. Most historians believe that they stayed around Mount Horeb most of those years, wandering around the base of the mountain. Until finally God said, how long before you go up the mountain? I mean, hello, aren't you about ready to move on? Now, none of that was God's fault. Now, make sure you understand it was never God's intent for them to wander in the wilderness 40 years. It was just about a 3-week journey to the promised land, or less, depending on how fast they traveled. But it wasn't long. They could have gone straight directly there. But they involved the flesh. And when you let the flesh get involved in your life, it's going to create some derailed situations.
All right.
The flesh just does not go away. I'm telling you this morning, I told him this morning at Pastor Ford's church, the flesh is not something that you conquer today and then it's conquered. It's whipped. Well, I got that done. Praise God.
No.
Sanctified. It's over.
Not in my
Are you
life.
kidding me? You think you're done with one deal? You kill the old man one time? Let me tell you something. You kill him today, there's going to be a resurrection tomorrow. You go to bed and see what happens. You go to bed. When you wake up tomorrow, he'll get up with you. In fact, he might be sitting up waiting on you when you get up.
That's it.
Time you get up. Ugly, they say ugly skin deep, but flesh goes all the way to the bone. Your old nature, it runs clear to your heart.
Exactly.
I mean, it'll come out when you least expect it.
That's right. Amen.
It'll come out. The flesh is always available. I mean, you go to these places unavailable. Well, the flesh never hangs that sign out. It's just always available. All you got to do is give in just a little bit. It hadn't been but a few years ago. Pam and I were on a tour around the south part of Texas, and we went into a hotel. It was 105 degrees in the shade in Houston, Texas. We went in this hotel, and it was about 106 in the room. Air conditioner wasn't on, it's hot, and it didn't work. So I went back to the desk and said, told them the problem, we've changed our mind, we're just going to go on down the road. So the owner quickly told me that we were free to go down the road, but we wasn't getting any money back because we walked in the room. Yeah. So the flesh showed up.
Yeah.
Not my flesh.
Oh, yeah.
Not mine. The redhead woke up. She said, "My blessed God, if they're going to charge us more, I'm going to mess up the beds." She wanted to strip the bed. And laying on there, she said, "Well, that's it." The flesh is always available.
That's good.
And you ain't going to get sanctified enough to get rid of it. I wish to God you could, but you can't.
That's it.
If praying and fasting would do it, it'd be gone. But it just keeps showing up. How do we get on this? So when you get ready to conquer your walls, you're going to have to do it in the Spirit. You're never going to do it in the flesh. Because the eyes of the flesh you see the impossibility of it. Perhaps if these people that came out of Egypt, if they had known the price of freedom, they might have preferred bondage.
Yes.
That's true.
There is a cost.
Yeah.
If you're going to be free,
Yes.
you're going to pay a price. See, to become a believer, to get saved, it doesn't cost you anything. It's free. But if you want to be a disciple,
Yes.
it'll cost you everything.
That's right.
Come on.
Your will, your way, your plan.
Your plan.
It'll cost you your time, your effort, and your money. So if you think you're going to become a disciple without those three things, you are mistaken. It'll never happen. So Joshua, in anticipation and in response to the word of the Lord that said, "I've given you the city," he sends 2 spies just to confirm. You know, sometimes we want a second opinion. You know, I mean, we just, can I get a second opinion on that? So he sends in a couple. Now he's learned a lot. I mean, 40 years will teach you something. Moses sent 12. That didn't work out too good. Only 2 of them reported good, so he said, "I'll just start with those 2. You know, that's just my Tennessee mind thinking that way. You know, he says we had 10 evil report, and I think we'll just pick two guys. It'd be, you can't run a church letting everybody vote.
That's right.
I'll tell you right now, you can't do it. You run the Moose Lodge that way, but you can't run a church. I mean, you know, it's not America. Everybody don't get a vote. You know, it just won't work. So he says, "All right, here's what we're going to do." He's the clear leader, but his leadership has not yet been established. You understand? Moses is dead. He ain't coming back.
He gone.
So somebody else has got to lead. Well, who's going to lead? Well, Moses left Joshua in charge.
Yeah, he did.
But listen, somebody leaving you in charge is not the same as you being in charge.
That's right. Amen.
I mean, appointment is one thing. Anointment is another.
That's right.
I made that word up.
That's
You can have the appointment. That's all great, good, wonderful. But let me see the anointing happening in you.
Come on.
Let me see something happen. So Joshua sends 2 spies in. Hence the topic, a night of the prostitute. They arrive at the prostitute's house. Now her house is on the wall. Now, how they got there is unknown. But when they got there, she pulled them aside and said, "I've got to tell you something. We've heard how your God dried up." Are y'all checking me out now?
Yeah, come on now.
Yeah.
The Red Sea.
Yes.
We've heard how your God dried up the Red Sea. We've been trembling at the presence of your pillar of fire. And
Right.
they just over the plain. They can look right up there and see it.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. God's camped right on the other side of the river. They can see that.
Yes.
Come on.
How do you think you feel when you look out there every night, see a spinning tornado of fire, and in the day a column of a cloud?
Come on.
You see, that didn't come with them across the promised land. I got a word to give you this. The fire and the cloud, they followed that to the promised land. But when they crossed the promised land, it all followed them.
Oh, come on.
See, They didn't have to go in and have a guide. They had a mission. And the difference is, when you get holed up with God and when He really gets on you, then what you do is you're a trendsetter. You're not a follower anymore. Now you're a leader. Now you're going to say, come on, God, let's go get them.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
He says, my anointing will follow you wherever you go. He told Abraham, wherever the sole of your footsteps, I'll be there with you. But you got to do some stepping.
Yeah.
They spent 40 years following a cloud. It's time for a cloud to follow them.
That's right.
Amen.
That's right.
It's been 40 years since that Red Sea incident.
Yes.
Yes.
They still talking about it.
Oh, wow.
Hello?
Yeah.
It's been 40 years since he dried up the Red Sea.
That's good.
Let them cross. They're still talking about it.
Yes.
That's right.
Man, I remember that message. I remember what it was like. Boy, I remember the night.
Yeah.
You ever been there?
Yeah.
I remember how it was. Oh my God. She may have been a prostitute, but she was about to become a proselyte.
Thank you, Jesus.
Mm-hmm. She was a heathen Canaanite, idol worshiper, prostitute. She had no place in the nation of Israel.
That's right.
And yet that night is going to change her forever. It was on that night that three things happened. Major, life-changing events happened. Joshua, when those walls fell, Joshua was established as the leader. There was no question who. He predicted it. Remember, he said we're going to march around one time every day, be quiet while we do.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
There's time to be quiet, there's time not to be quiet. But the time to be quiet was early on. They were marching in silence. Somebody said, well, they just marched 7 times. No. They marched one time every day, but on the 7th day, they marched 7 times.
That's right.
And they couldn't shout until the 7th time around.
Right.
And then just before they got ready to shout, Joshua said, oh, by the way, one thing I forgot to mention. You can't have anything that we capture. You can't bother another goat. All this stuff, he listed some things that pertains to God. The rest of it, destroyed. Can't have it. So on that night, or on that day when the walls fall, Joshua is confirmed, Rahab is affirmed, and Achan is revealed.
Wow.
3 people had their life changed in that one movie. Forever. Joshua, who had been appointed and anointed, now was confirmed as their leader. When you see walls fall down flat at your command, I mean, can you see these people as they're walking around these walls and they're, I wonder what that rope means, hanging out the window. You see, on that night that they spent with the prostitute, those 2 spies, they made a deal.
That's right.
They said, because you helped us, we're going to give you an opportunity to survive this battle. If you'll just tie this red rope in your window, we won't destroy you when we come to the city. Because you've been kind to us. What would you give to have a promise from God like that? What would you give if you knew you could tie a red rope in your window and the attacking army would not kill you? You can. You remember a guy by the name of Judah? He marries a woman named Tamar. And they have 2 kids. And the youngest, he puts out his wrist in the birthing process, and the woman helping ties a red thread around his arm, and he pulls it back in. right after that, his brother is birthed. That little boy, I'll give you his name. I've got your name.
Here it is.
That little boy, Zerah and Pharez, was the two brothers. Zerah is the one with the red ribbon on his wrist. Pharez is the brother. Pharez means break forth.
Breakthrough.
He says, I ain't waiting. I'm coming out. I don't care what happens. Zerah pulls back. You will never get ahead with God by pulling back from your destiny.
Yeah.
That red ribbon that was tied on Zerah's wrist becomes a red rope in the prostitute's window, and it becomes a red river coming out of the cross of Calvary. And Jesus says, if you want me, all you got to do is tie this red crimson on your heart, and it'll change you forever. It's the blood. It's always been about the blood. It's never quit being about the blood. So on that night or on that day when the walls fall, watch this. Zerah's lineage ends with his great-great-grandson by the name of Achan.
Wow. Whoa.
Achan died because he stole a Babylonian garment, a wedge of gold, and a few shackles of silver. Money's always been the root. It's always been the root. In fact, when you read the story, you find that the money's buried under it all. It's the love of money, not money itself, but the love of money. That's the root of all evil. And so Pharez, he becomes the lineage because Achan couldn't participate because of his deceptive ways and his willingness to take what wasn't his. So his descendants end as Zerah has pulled back, so Achan dies.
Oh yeah, come on.
At the stoning before they go to the battle of Ai. But Pharez's lineage continues, and it becomes the lineage through Tamar, who played the harlot.
That's right.
The Bible says she played the harlot. Remember, she deceived Judah.
Yeah,
Right.
come on.
But a night with the prostitute. Listen, God has changed more lives through prostitutes than prophets.
That's right. That's the truth.
Amen.
Oh, I know that's hard to believe. But watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. If you don't believe it, watch what happened. Through that lineage of Pharez, the son of a prostitute, came Jesus the Christ.
That's right.
Amen.
Always.
Wow.
Sarah's lineage ended at Achan. Pharez's lineage ended at the cross.
That's right. Wow. That's really good.
Rahab gets engrafted into the vine. She gets
Yes,
she
she
gets put in.
Yes.
She plays the harlot. Here and then at the last minute, they see the rope hanging. They say, we can't touch her because that's the one that saved the spies. So she comes out of the city. She meets a man by the name of Salmon. They get married. They have a kid by the name of Boaz. Boaz meets a woman by the name of Ruth. He's also a Moabite. Are you listening to me? So, you know, they have a kid named Obed. Obed has a kid named Jesse. And then there's the root of Jesse is born, and his name is David.
Amen.
And you know David is the king through which the lineage of Christ would come.
Amen.
But not just the lineage of Christ, it was also the lineage of Joseph and Mary. No, it's too much. I'm telling you, a night with the prostitute did more than a night with the prophet.
That's right. That's right.
It demonstrates the mercy and grace of God.
Wow,
He don't
that's
care
it.
what
Thank
you
you,
were.
Lord.
He only cares what you
Thank you,
are.
Lord.
He's looking at your future.
Thank you, Lord.
He's not viewing your life through a small rearview it up? Why do we keep holding on to it?
All right.
Why do we make that the major issue in our life?
Good word.
Saul, called to be king, and yet hanging out with the donkeys. What's that? They look for Saul. Where is he? The guy we've been. Samuel's out here having an anointing service, looking for Saul. Where is he at? I know I got him somewhere. Well, they say he's over there with the donkeys. Well, the donkeys were what carried the baggage. He was more comfortable with the baggage.
Yeah. Well, come on. Oh, that's a good word. Wow. More comfortable with the baggage.
He's out there with the donkeys. That's what they're beasts of burden, right?
That's right.
It's a whole other message. I'm not even going to start there, but yeah, I am going to start there. I already went there, I guess. But he was more comfortable. See, a lot of people are more comfortable in their past. They come to Christ with all this baggage.
Come on.
And they sit in the lobby wanting God to do something with it. Looking for a bellman.
Yeah.
Can we get the porter, please? I got to get all this up to my room. Would you listen and hear a word from God? Leave the baggage.
All right.
Come on. Yeah.
Leave it. You don't need to carry that up to the room.
Thank you, Lord.
Just leave it.
Yeah. Amen. Good word.
When those men spent the night with that prostitute, when she heard the word, when she made the covenant, I want to tell you something. They did not make a contract. They made a covenant. They gave her their word. We will do this. Here's what you got to do. Tie this rope. Anybody that comes in this room will be saved.
That's right.
Everybody, your family, your friends, everybody that's in this room will be spared.
Right.
Just because of this red rope. So those guys are walking around the walls. They see that rope hanging there. Wonder what that's about. Wonder what that's for. I know that people don't understand us. They think we're outside of our minds. When we talk about the cleansing blood of Christ, when we sing about the blood. But I got news for you. The blood is what bought my salvation.
Amen.
It's the blood that paid the bill. The blood paid the price. For without the blood, there is no sacrifice.
That's right.
Nothing but the blood. We used to sing the old song, nothing but the blood of Jesus. What can wash away my sin?
Nothing but the blood of Jesus.
What can make me whole again?
Nothing but the blood of Jesus.
Oh, precious
Is the
is the
flow
flow
that makes me
white
white as snow.
No
No
other
other fount I
know.
know. Nothing but the blood of Jesus.
So tonight, or this afternoon, I want you to get a hold of some of this that I just shared with you. Some of it may seem a little scattered. Maybe there's pieces that you can get, pieces that you can't get. But get this. If you want to experience a future that explodes with the power of God, you're going to need to look past the past into the future. And whatever's back there, let it stay back there. Okay, I get it. She was a prostitute. But you don't surely think that God would include Rahab in the lineage of the Holy Child and then reject you. You surely don't think that. You can't possibly believe that God would let Tamar, who played the harlot, who had sex with her father-in-law and got pregnant by him just to get back at him.
Right.
Her motives were not pure.
Yeah.
He had promised her his third son. He didn't deliver, so he said, well, I'll show you. I'll get pregnant by you. She played the harlot. You don't think that God would include